and another effective one. Matthew breaks a tackle, breaks another, gets a block. There are no flags and the race is on. And Matthew goes 90.
Burrow with the snap. Here comes the blitz. Burrow steps away from it, throws, catch made! Justin Jefferson has it at the 38, racing down the far line, sideline, 10-5, touchdown, Tigers!
Another play fake by Burrow, and a deep strike, and an open receiver, Jamar Chase, another touchdown!
Daniels pulls it, takes it himself, he's got the sideline! Jane Daniels off to the races! And a bang back inside, he takes it to the house! 85 yards for Daniel!
Go ahead and say it, Ed.
Go Tigers!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another edition of the Geauxld Standard Podcast. I'm your host, Doe, and here we love purple, but it is all gold, baby. And look, we know we aim to be your number one location, your number one stop for LSU news, sports, updates, and unsolicited comments from your boy. I know it's been a little bit of a dry week last week. I was trying my best to get some content out for you guys, but it just didn't work. I'm not going to ever put myself on the spot where I'm putting out something just to put it out. I want to feel good about it. I want to feel comfortable about it. And I just didn't really feel comfortable at the time putting out what I would have given you guys last week. So I'm not going to do that. So I apologize for missing a week. But you guys can go check me out. I did a guest spot last week on the Purple Mafia podcast. I'm going to try to put a link below. But I had a really good conversation with Cole and LSU fan Dan. They call us the Big Three. So go check that out. I'm going to put a link below. Go check that out. Show Cole some love on his channel. Show LSU fan Dan some love on his channel as well, okay? So we're going to get right into it. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL draft combine. Not NFL draft combine, but Pro Day. LSU Pro Day was today, Monday. And we had some good things to talk about. There are some things that was a little surprising for me. I'll go through the numbers of the guys that kind of participated there. We'll talk a little bit about the baseball team, who's off to a little bit of a rocky start. They lost their first two opening series in SEC play. We'll talk about women's basketball, who's moving on to the Sweet 16, who will play on this coming Friday. They'll play that game to try to get to the Elite Eight. And then we'll talk about the offensive line. I've been doing position by position breakdown. And today's episode will be about the offensive line. You know, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of bodies in the room. There's a lot of great things that can happen. There's a lot of bad things that can happen. But we're going to talk about it all here. So just make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you jump down in the comments and leave me a comment. YouTube has a weird algorithm. Sorry, I'm just buffing everywhere. YouTube has a weird algorithm change where they don't push out videos that don't have a lot of comments. So you guys do me a huge favor. Make sure you go down and leave comments if you hate it, if you love it, whatever. Let's go down and have some dialogue. I respond to every single comment. I don't miss one. I respond to them all. So please go down and let's make this conversation interesting. I got some fun video ideas coming up. I'm going to try to get LSU fan Dan and Cole on from Purple Mafia, and we're going to do sort of an LSU draft. I've got an LSU tier list coming up, and maybe we do some more Sporkle games. So you guys make sure you go hit that subscribe button because we got a lot of fun stuff coming. And guess what? Camp starts next week. Now, I don't think we're going to get a ton, and I talked about this on Purple Mafia podcast, but they did release where the media will get access to 3 of the practices from now until the end of camp, which ends in April. So we'll be here to update you on everything that we're hearing, everything that we're seeing, everything that we did see. I'm not going to see it personally, but I'll give you the voice of opinion from people that are there and people that have seen it, that I know are there. So that'll be interesting. It'll be fun. You know, it's an exciting time around the campus. Everybody's ready to go. They're rocking and rolling for Coach Kiffin. And so we're going to get the ball rolling. So first up, we're going to talk about LSU Pro Day. And so I'll give you the names of the guys that participate in Pro Day. This will be in alphabetical order. Aaron Anderson, Barryon Brown, Jamari Butler, Mansoor Delane, Bernard Gooden, Jacobian Guillory, AJ Halsey, Chris Hilton, Garrett Nussmeier, Patrick Payton, Harold Perkins, Jack Pyburn, Damian Ramos, Bauer Sharp, Xavier Thomas, Josh Thompson, and Wes Weeks. So, just the talks of the town have been Mansoor Delane, who came in and ran a 4.35 40-yard dash. Look, I'm not surprised. If you watched my LSU dream pick of the last 20 years, he almost made my second team as a starting cornerback. I think the season that he just had was that great. That season and Derek Stingley's season may be the two best cornerback seasons, along with Morris Claiborne from 2011, that I can just pop off the top of my head. That were just fantastic. Mansoor is so technical. He's the most technical cornerback I've seen since Morris Claiborne. And Morris Claiborne went 6 overall to the Cowboys back in the day. Mansoor is being projected anywhere from the number 8 spot to the number 12-ish spot. I think he will go in the top 10, but he kind of finished off any doubts or qualms. I know there were some issues with people possibly thinking, does he have the speed to keep up with number 1 wide receivers? Well, he obviously does. He ran a 4.35. He's a technical wizard. I saw a weird stat the other day that he gave up like 13 catches all year, and not a single wide receiver had more than 1 catch. Just an amazing stat. I think he gave up more first down, or he had the same amount of, it was some weird stat like he had the same amount of first downs and catches or whatever, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember, but just an amazing season from Mansoor Delane. One of my favorite Tigers of the last few years. I really, really enjoyed watching him play cornerback, and he stepped on the field game 1 against Clemson, and he absolutely showed why he was going to be LSU's lockdown corner. You could see it from game 1. Go back and watch the Clemson game. He was fantastic. He had a pick in that game as well. So really, really proud of him. Excited to see what his future holds in the National Football League. I know he will be somebody's number 1 corner next season. The other one that stuck out is going to be Harold Perkins. And look, again, if you follow this podcast, I came on and told you guys when we first started talking about the draft that I would not be surprised if Harold Perkins blows up the pro day, because he's that type of player. You know, I almost think Perk maybe should have played running back at LSU. God, I mean, I just think of the thing. He was a running back and linebacker in high school. He played both ways, and he was a fantastic running back if you go back and watch some of his highlight films. I almost wonder if he should have played running back at LSU, would he may have had a bigger impact, because he's such an athletic freak. I think he came in at like 6'1.5" and like 220 pounds. He had a 35-inch vertical, a 10.4 in the broad jump. He ran a 4.38 in the 40-yard dash, and it looks like he hit about 20 reps of 225 on the bench press. Somebody's going to get a crazy mold of a potential NFL star. I'm not calling it, because he got some things he's got to clean up, just like most players do. But if you want to talk about intangibles of, hey, let's make a player, like let's create a player on NCAA, most of the time you're going to create somebody that's like Harold Perkins. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. He's got such burst, such acceleration, even after an injury, to come out and run a 4.38, at 220 pounds. It's not an easy thing to do. Those guys play. That'll play. Think about Patrick Queen. He's not quite as big as Devin White, but think about Devin White. N'Kobe Dean from Georgia, kind of that mold, where I think he's going to be a very good off-the-ball linebacker. I think he's going to be in a lot of blitz packages. I think he's going to be in the right system. Let's just say somebody like Seattle drafts him. I think he could be a potential star. So I was really, really proud to see that. His career may have not gone the way that he wanted it to go, or we wanted it to go as fans, but to come out and do what he did was just amazing. And so I'll just sum up the rest of the guys. One guy that stuck out to me in a negative way was Aaron Anderson. Came in and did a 28.5-inch vertical, 9.6 in the broad jump, 4.55 in the 40, 4.58 in the 20, and 7.12 in the 3-cone, and 15 reps of 225. Aaron seems like he's more explosive than that. So I wonder if he's still injured, but to be 5'8" and under and running a 4.5, I mean, you have to have some special twitch, some special return ability, which he does. But I'm curious at what his ceiling looks like now, what his future looks like now, because the combine and NFL at receiver, when there's not a lot of production, they're going to draft off ceiling. So you have to wonder where somebody's ceiling is that's 5'7". Doesn't have the crazy explosiveness in the vert, doesn't have the craziness in the speed. The 20 is not really great. So you just wonder what his future is going to be. Would he be better off coming back, having a full year healthy? His last full year a couple years ago was very good. So I question, and I've questioned him coming out, but again, it's his decision. But I just wonder if a year in Lane Kiffin's system would not have done him justice. So next up was Baryon Brown. He had 32-inch vertical, ran a jump 9.10 in the broad jump. I can't remember what Baryon Brown's 40 time was at the combine. He didn't run it pro day. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Baryon Brown, 40 dash FL combine. Let's see what we get. I think like a 4.4. Yeah, he ran a 4.40. So, but what's surprising? Who would have thought? And you want to talk about big winners at the NFL draft combine. How about Xavier Thomas running 4.28? If you'd have told me that Xavier Thomas was faster than Baryon Brown last season, I wouldn't have believed you. And Xavier plays quick, but he doesn't play 4.28 quick. So that was a bit surprising, but good for him too. So yeah, Baryon Brown is another one that's going to be interesting. Does he go in one of those later rounds? He's a smaller guy. He does have some catch issues, but the speed is there. Maybe somebody sees the potential. As a return guy, he's amazing. We saw that firsthand. So him and Aaron Anderson are going to be very interesting to watch. Okay, so next up we had Jamari Butler, who did jump. He was the edge this year that transferred in. He had a 30-inch vertical, jump 9.6 in the broad jump. For comparison, that's the same thing that Aaron Anderson did. He ran a 4.74 in the 40-yard dash, 4.53, which was quicker than the Aaron Anderson in 20 shuttle, and then 19 reps on the bench. You would like to see a little bit more strength there, but Jamari Butler may be one of those guys who has like just that sneaky 7 to 10 year NFL career as like a backup, maybe having one really good year where he gets 8 sacks or something like that. It just really wouldn't surprise me at all if that's the case down the line. So we already talked about Mansoor Delane. Next up is Bernard Gooden. Bernard had a 25.5-inch vertical, 40-yard dash, 5.01, 20-yard shuttle of 7.3, bench at 20 reps. Bernard Gooden was a sneaky surprise this year. He's a bit undersized, but he was able to get a lot of pressure from the inside. There's a lot of potential there. Can he carve out a role in a defense somewhere where he's a pass rush situational guy, and he's able to make an impact there, and he's able to stick in the league? I think it's there. We saw a lot of times this year he's one of the only guys that got consistent pressure. When I mean consistent, multiple times a game, more so than even some of the guys that played on the edge. So he'll definitely be an interesting one to follow as well. Next up, we got Tank Guillory, a.k.a. Jacobian Guillory. He jumped a 27.5-inch vert, broad jump at 8.6, 40-yard dash at 5.3, 20 shuttle at 5.08, in the 3-cone 7.9, and bench 24 reps. Tank's going to be a nose. He's going to be a nose in somebody's system that runs a 3-4. He's very strong, very powerful. I would have thought he lifted more than 20 reps on the bench. I wonder if that information is correct. More than 24. Just seems a little bit stronger than that. He was a powerlifting champion in high school, so that's actually a bit surprising that he was only able to do 24 reps at 225. But is he another guy that finds a role somewhere as a kind of a run stopping, hole clogging 3-4 nose guard? So we'll see. AJ Halsey didn't do anything at pro day. Chris Hilton Jr. was another one that kind of showed some athleticism. 38.5 vertical. We know he can jump. 10.2 in the broad. We know he has that ability. He's a high school triple jump or high jump guy. 4.4 40-yard dash, 440. 4.4 in the shuttle, and then 6.88 in the 3-cone, and then he did not participate in the bench. So very interesting there. An athletic guy. I wonder if he has a career similar to a guy like a Russell Gage. Maybe not DJ Chark because he's not as big or as consistent, but I wonder if he has that Russell Gage career where somebody can tap into that athleticism and that speed that he has and make something out of him in the NFL. Garrett Nussmeier, I'm just bombing all over the place. Guys, I apologize. This is what happens when you take a week off. Garrett Nussmeier, no numbers on him. I'm assuming he just made some throws. Nuss had a very good pro day. Not a pro day, but Senior Bowl down here in Mobile, Alabama. I'm wondering, the question becomes, is he quarterback 3? Is he high in that second round and becomes quarterback 3? It's going to be interesting to follow, interesting to watch. No numbers on Patrick Payton. The other big one we talked about at Perkins already. Jack Pyburn did not do the vert. 9-1 in the broad jump, 4.49 in the 20, and then 3 cones, 7.34, which is only a little bit slower than Aaron Anderson, which is again so surprising. And then no lifts in the bench, so no numbers there. Again, Jack's gonna be one of those guys fighting to get drafted. I really like his toughness. I really like his motor, but I think he's one of those guys you see in the later rounds, maybe undrafted free agent. But I didn't really see anything that changed that for me here. Again, it's not me. I'm not dissing him or anything like that, but just based off the numbers, if you tell me this guy's an edge, he's not super fast, he's not super twitchy, or there's not a lot of sack production, but he is a good run stopper, so does he play well in the 3-4? Does he play well as kind of a run stopper or setting the edge kind of guy? Damian Ramos, no numbers on him. Bauer Sharp, the only thing on him, he did a 4.33 shuttle and a 7.05 3-cone. I'm done talking about Bauer Sharp. I'm not going to say anything there. Xavier didn't do anything. He just did bench. You go and run a 4.28 at the combine, you don't really need to do anything. One of the faster times this year. Josh Thompson, no vert, 8.8 or 8.8 in the broad jump, 4.8 20 shuttle, 7.96 in the 3-cone, and nothing on the bench. And then last, another surprise, Wes Weeks ran a 4.50 in the 40-yard dash. It did not play that way. He kind of moved like he was in sand a lot of times, but the speed is obviously there. He comes from an athletic background. His dad played a while. We see what his brother Witt is going to be fantastic and high draft pick next year. And their brother Zach Weeks is, probably or supposedly the best athlete out of the 3 of them. So we're going to have a lot of production from the Weeks family in the next 3 or 4 years at LSU. But he did a 31.5 vert, 9.3 in the broad jump, 4.5 40, 4.5 20, and then 7.09 in the 3-cone, along with 19 reps on the bench. So, yeah, that's everything we have from the draft combine. Look, my standouts, obviously, Mansoor, Delane. Again, I wasn't surprised, but I think people had some questions about his speed. He couldn't keep up with number ones. That's not an issue anymore. I knew Harold Perkins would go well, but I didn't think he'd do a 4.38. So I think those are your 2 biggest risers of the day. I think your 2 biggest stock down guys, possibly Aaron Anderson is going to be one for sure with those numbers. And I'm not sure on the other one. I don't know if there's anybody that I necessarily say stock down, but I for sure will say Aaron Anderson. So moving on briefly, the Tigers did not have a great showing this weekend in baseball versus Oklahoma. Win Friday night, lose Saturday, and lose Sunday. Tigers have lost their first 2 SEC series. They lost to Vanderbilt last weekend. They lost to Oklahoma just this past weekend. So there's some issues that need to be worked out. They can't really get the pitching and hitting together at one time. You see Casey Evans pitch very well Friday night. That was good. He had about 15 strikeouts. It's good to see that. Good to see Gavin Guidry, before he kind of ran out of gas, pitch so well. They just can't put the pitching and the hitting together in one game. When they pitch really well, they don't hit well. When they hit really well, they don't pitch well. They haven't been getting a lot of legs out of their starters. No 6-7 innings like we're used to last year with Anthony Ianson and Cade Anderson. So it's causing some of those guys to kind of pitch earlier. Guys have to go a little bit longer than they're accustomed to. And they're just not being consistent right now. They're not putting the ball over the plate. They're hitting a lot of guys. And then on offense, we got some guys in slumps. I think Milam's batting under 250. Currio's kind of slowed up a little bit. Jake Brown's been the only one that's been consistent on offense. So hopefully the Tigers can get it together. Not sure where they are this weekend, but they're definitely going to have a midweek game probably on Tuesday, I think, against Tech. And then I don't know who they have this weekend, but definitely a series upcoming. You hope to see them kind of bounce back. We hope to see them get an SEC series under the belt and get an SEC win, which will be their first this season. All right, the women's basketball. We watched them last night as they tore apart. Was it Texas Tech? Yeah, they tore apart Texas Tech. It was a score 100 and something to 101 to 47. Just a magnificent showing from the Tigers in the second round of the NCAA tournament for the women. It's one of the games as an LSU fan that makes you frustrating because you see when LSU plays like this, I honestly think they can beat any team in the country. The problem is we don't get this in the big game. So against UCLA, we need to play the same way. We need the same kind of performance, especially from your leaders. You had 24 from Flau'jae Johnson, which was her last game at the PMAC. She went 2 of 4 from downtown, 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. And then Mikayla Williams, 24 points as well, 9 of 15 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 4 of 4 from the three-point line, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. So great game from your big two right there. Not much needed from Mikayla for a while. She was in some foul trouble early, and I just think she never was able to get into a rhythm. She only had 2 points. Amaya Joyner had 11 points, and then Jada Richard and Kate Koval both put in 10 points as well. And Kate Koval also put in 10 rebounds. And Joyner put in 11 rebounds. So your big men or big women, 21 and 21 from your center spot. That plays. Keep that up, ladies. Keep up the intensity. I like the intensity that I saw from Flau'jae and Mikayla specifically yesterday. Focus. Looks like they want to prove a point. Again, if LSU plays this way, they can beat any team in the country. They can win a national championship with this team. They can. Will they do it? Will they show up in those big games? We're going to have to see. We're going to see. But very, very pleased by what I saw in the first 2 games of the tournament so far. And then let's get to the last thing of the day, and we'll get you guys out of here. LSU's offensive line room. We got a lot of potential there, but there are also a lot of questions. So I'll go through, and I gave you guys a projection on who I think will start. I went Jordan Seaton at left tackle, who's the big, phenomenal stud from Colorado. He will be a first-round pick in next year's draft. Top 10 type of talent as far as I'm concerned. You want to see it translate from Colorado to the SEC, and all reports so far is that he looks the part. So I think he's going to be a magnificent, one of the most crucial adds of the offseason. And this offensive line is going to be probably the most important group on the team because they're going to protect Sam Levitt, who's coming back from an injury. They need to protect him. They need to give him time. They need to open up running lanes, which we didn't have a lot of last season. But Jordan Seaton, Aluba was another one that I talked about. I think he transferred from Maryland. He's got a lot of starts, very good in pass pro. I think he'll start at left guard. Braylon Moore, who returns, is one of the only offensive linemen. Him and Brett Bordelon and Braylon Moore, Weston Davis, Brett Bordelon, and Solomon Thomas were your returners from last season. Braylon Moore is locked in as your center there. If he's healthy, we saw what he looked. The LSU offensive line, when he was healthy before he got injured, looked very different. So if he can stay healthy, I love from left to center. Jordan Seaton, Aluba, Braylon Moore, if it goes as I think. Right guard is going to be your biggest question. And this is a thing I talked about on the Purple Mafia podcast. It's going to be between Devin Harper, Solomon Thomas, and then Shane Tompkins is another one that I'm hearing a lot about. Transferred from Baylor, played a lot of tackle, played a lot of guard. Hearing some good things about him. I think I projected Solomon Thomas to kind of fit in that spot as the former 5-star, but it would not surprise me if Devin Harper, Solomon Thomas, or Sean Tompkins, either of those guys started at right guard. And then I think Weston Davis returning as the second starter out of the 5 from last season team, a guy that they really wanted to hold on to. They see a lot of potential in him. I think under the right coaching and the right fire up under him, he's what you want out of a tackle. He's very athletic. He played basketball. He was a dunker. He's an athletic guy running the floor. He's what you want as an offensive tackle. But can he put it together under some different coaching? We hope that he do. We hope that he does, and I think he will. I think he'll look at least better than what he did last season under Brad Davis. And so there will be competition for him, though. I literally heard some great things today about Darren Stray, transferred from Kentucky, which Eric Walford, our offensive line coach, coached at last season. They think he has all the skills to be a Sunday guy. He's just young. He's just raw. So it's just about getting better and improving. Jacoby Jones was a guy they brought in who I really like, who has some versatility. Jaquan Sprinkle looks really good on film. He's a smasher, a mauler, a pancake guy. William Satterwhite, center from Tennessee, and Sean Tompkins. And then you got Jamon Jones, another guy. I think he was maybe a JUCO guy as well, or a lower tier guy that's kind of coming up. And then the other returning starters, Solomon Thomas, a guy who I hope breaks out, former 5-star. All the talent is there. I was very surprised he stuck around with the offensive line change. Bo and Brett Bordelon, I don't think you get much from either of them. Their tenures at LSU, their legacies, but I don't think they give you any significant contributions. Then you got the 2 freshmen. You got Bryson Martinez, who was a top 150 guy, left tackle prospect out of Louisiana. There were some teams coming for him hard down the stretch. And then Ryan Merritt, who was an offensive lineman out of Florida, if I'm not mistaken, was going to play center. So, again, you got a lot of guys in the room. This is a room that had this room and the wide receiver room had the most turnaround. There's 2 guys returning that played for LSU last year. There's 5 guys total that were in the room last season. So you got a lot of incoming talent in this room, and a lot of opportunity for this to come together. Now, the thing with offensive line that we want to consider and think about is that it does take time to gel. So camp is going to be very important for them to figure out 5 guys, and I think it'll help if they have an idea of who has their right guard spot, so these guys can focus on cohesion. Maybe rotate some guys in. One day it's Devin Harper, one day it's Sean Tompkins, one day it's Solomon Thomas. They kind of figure out who your second guys are, but my hope is that they figure out who the 5 are early so they can begin to gel, because a lot of what offensive line play is, I know where he's going to be, I'm going to be in my spot, and you got to be able to trust that guy next to you. But that comes from reps, right? You get that trust and gain that trust with reps. So I'm hoping that when camp starts next week, they have a good idea of who the 5 they want to be out there, and those guys really get a cohesion and a chemistry in, and they develop 3 or 4 guys behind them. I think you need probably 8 to 9 guys that you could trust on any given Saturday. So hopefully between all those bodies we just talked about, you have 8 or 9 dependable guys for Coach Wofford. And we could see a fast improvement from what we saw last season with the offensive line, because we couldn't run block, we couldn't pass block, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't establish any sort of identity because the guys didn't hold up. They were getting beat in pass pro. Nuss got killed. Van Buren got killed a lot. So you just want to see it was needed for that room to have a complete overhaul. We got new coaches in there. So hopefully LSU has a semblance of a significant offensive line this coming season. And I'm excited about what they can do because I really think guys like Seaton, Aluba, Devin Harper, a couple of these guys, maybe Jacoby Jones, and, guys like Ethan Stray. You have a more athletic set of guys. You got guys quicker. I said Ethan Stray, Darren Stray. Sorry. You got more athletic guys. You got more of a different prototype in this room. You don't have a lot of big guys that need to lose a lot of weight or get in shape. You do have some bigger guys, a lot of 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" guys like Weston Davis. But you need those guys to be strong. You need those guys to be physical at the point of attack, and that's going to come from developing with Coach Wofford, who I think will do a very good technical job of getting the guys coached up. And look, this offensive line is going to take LSU far this season because, like I said, we got a quarterback coming off injury. We got a brand new wide receiver room that is talented as well that we already talked about. But the offensive line is going to determine a lot this season for LSU offensively. So here's to those guys figuring it out. Here's to Lane and the staff getting those guys coached up. I know the scheme will be better for some of these guys. Guys like Braylon Moore and Weston Davis, I think, will look so much better in this scheme this season than they did last season. So that's all, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate y'all joining us on the Geauxld Standard Podcast today. Look, please, please, please do me a favor. Go down and hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. There's no cost associated. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything but 3 seconds to hit that button. Smash that like button instead. Jump down in the comments. I told you about the algorithm with YouTube now. Jump down in the comments and let me know, what is your starting 5 for the offensive line? What were you surprised about with the pro day today? What do you think about the LSU women's basketball team? Can they go all the way? And then What's your worry level for the LSU baseball team? It's so weird. It'll turn around quick, but do you have some concerns about what the season will potentially look like? So, look, I appreciate y'all's time. This is the Geauxld Standard Podcast here where we love purple, but it is all gold, baby. And we look to be your number one place for LSU news, updates, and unsolicited comments from your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. You have a great evening. You have a great week, a great day, whatever you want to do. But you make sure you tell them that I said, play net.